beginning to kind of develop this whole situation, but it was still kind of easy, and no one really could foresee what was going to happen. At least we couldn't. We were lucky in our office to say that everyone that had been in these areas that were, as we knew already then, affected, like northern Italy and some other skiing resorts, that you have to stay at home for self-quarantine for 2 weeks, which was good, because only 1 week later or so it kind of developed, and the government or the Folkhälsomyndigheten, the health authorities, they saw that a lot of people were infected by this virus. That was it. I think it's 4 weeks ago now, 4 or 5 weeks, and the world has changed rapidly since then. It's I think it's very special. What we have done here in Sweden, as you know, is we have not told everyone to stay at home. People can still move around, and if you go in the street Friday afternoon here, you see a lot of people out moving. What perhaps Mr. Trump and everyone else doesn't say is that we are actually keeping a distance. There's a lot of inspectors now out looking in restaurants and stuff to make sure that people stay away from each other. We have decided, I think, not to close down because of the economy, and also because we were not so good prepared in the hospitals to take care of a massive chunk of people coming in. So in these 4 weeks, we have increased our IVA places with 100%. And at the moment, you see all these curves, and you should stay on below the curve, not to panic the hospitals. We have managed to stay below this. We have had, I think there's less than 1,000. There is more than 900 people have died because of this. In Sweden, it's mainly old people. I would say over 70 years, and also a lot of them have had underlying diseases, as they say, or different type of other problems. A big problem in Sweden is that we have a lot of old people homes where there is this corona epidemic or pandemic. So there's a lot of old people there getting this virus, and I think a problem for us in Sweden is that we don't treat those homes for old people as kind of hospitals. It's more like they live there. So therefore, the people working there, they did not have this protection gear that they should have had. So I think that it has spread kind of rapidly, and that is of course not good. But all in all, it's quite okay in Sweden, I would say. We are so far in our office quite lucky. A couple of people, I think, have the corona, but we don't test people, so we don't know. They're going to start to test now. I saw this morning 10,000 people a day, mainly in people working in hospitals and taking care of others. So, well, and for the firm, everyone is more or less working home. We have not seen a decrease in business. We actually had a really good March. But I guess it's mainly old things. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in May and June, I think. Yeah. Very short from Sweden. Mika?
Thanks, Stefan. Mika here. Can you now hear me? Is my voice coming through?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. So, as regards to Finland, our strategy has been a little bit different than our dear neighbors in Sweden. We've had more strict restrictions, but not the same level as you would have in Southern Europe, for example. The biggest thing, I guess, that we've done is that we've closed down sort of the regional area around Helsinki, which is called Nyland or Uusimaa, which means that you can't travel out from here or inside here without a proper course. And the reason for that being that sort of this particular virus sort of started spreading from the Helsinki region and then spread to the rest of the country. if you may. Main causes for the virus coming in was, as Stefan said, a lot of people were skiing in the Alps, and there was a lot of traveling coming from Asia. So we brought it to Helsinki, and then, because we wanted to party, we went up to Lapland and everywhere else and spread the virus. What our government wanted to do was that they wanted to make sure that the spreading of the disease was slowed in a way that our hospital capacity would not be, exceeded. And they've managed to do it. And as regards to the number of people actually who have died from this in Finland, we're still less than 60. So if we have like a little less than 6 million people, which is like 2/3 of Sweden, so sort of as regards to number of people who have died here, we seem to have a much smaller number, but obviously it doesn't mean that the end result wouldn't be exactly the same as with our neighbors. As regards working, I've worked from home now for 4 weeks already. I've been at the office, I think, 3 times, and more or less picking up stuff than doing anything else. How it looks as from the business perspective. So as probably at least most of you know, I do M&A and private equity. That is very close to being dead right now in Finnish markets. There's a small amount of things going on, but nothing that would sort of keep our practice afloat. So that's not doing too well right now. On the other hand, then sort of practices financing both debt and capital markets, that's doing extremely well. Employment law is completely booming. There's a fair amount of sort of new insolvency-related assignments coming up, and then you would have this dispute part and contractual disputes, force majeure and whatnot, huge amount of that. And as a result of that, and this might sound horrible, but our March was the 3rd best month ever in the existence of the firm. So we had an extremely good month. I don't think that the April will be as good, and May for sure isn't going to be as good. But it depends a little bit on how long this will continue, how well or badly we are going to do at the end of the day. As regards to sort of working, so as I said, sort of we don't actually have a rule that you can't go to the office, so people get to choose what they do. But I think that sort of almost everyone is working from home because we have, in normal courses, also possibility of working from home. So it's not that much of a big thing. It's more of the lack of social connections that we are experiencing here work-wise. We don't do our morning coffee seminars with the clients, but we do webinars. And what I've understood, it's actually something which is pulling more clients to webinar than normally we would be able to pull to a normal, like a morning coffee, presentation meeting. So the webinar concept seems to be working. I actually have Kirsi here, who is one of our sort of COVID-19 task force members. Kirsi, have I neglected to say something, anything that you would want to add?
You have muted, I think, Kirsi.
Right. Good afternoon to everyone from Helsinki. Not to add to what Mika just said, apart from the fact that, of course, in Helsinki and in the Nyland region, and overall in Finland, we have the daycare and elementary school closed, which might present some kind of problems to parents with distance working. And of course, it was a good point that what Mika made, that webinars are actually extremely successful in these times. So we're able to reach a lot of clients that way. And of course, we make direct contact with our clients as well. So I think that's a good opportunity to check in with your clients and find out how they are doing.
Thanks, Kirsi. Stefan, let's pass it forward.
Yes. On my screen, I see Nicholas. Would you mind saying something from the UK?
Yes. Hello from sunny Birmingham.
We hear you kind of bad enough, or at least I do.
Yeah, the weather's good. The impacts in the UK. Can you? Let me just check.
Hello, Nicholas.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I think that Nicholas has some sort of internet connection.
On the right Wi-Fi. Can you just check?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better now. Yeah. It's a little bit up and down, it seems. Now you are muted. You are muted now.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, let's try.
Is that much better? If it's not much better, you can move on to the next person and come back to me, and I can sort it out.
Yeah. Martin, would you mind?
Yes, sure. I'm muted. Yeah, I guess sort of the overall situation sort of a little bit similar to Finland rather than to Sweden in Estonia. Now, 1 month when we have this new regime in place, it's not kind of as strict as in Southern European countries, and people can go out to restaurants. A lot of officially closed, but no one visits them more or less. But the other establishments, so these things are closed, and most people work remotely. And the shopping malls also closed, but there are the other shops in principle are not, but they have closed themselves instead. Yeah, office we have been working remotely now for 1 month almost. Otherwise, the business in March has been good, as in Finland and Sweden, and they really compared even to January and February, the revenue has been higher in March, and it's really great months. But I guess it's probably explains or relates with the increase of the work initially when all this mayhem started, but eventually I think now in April we see already it slowing down, and of course in M&A we have seen a pretty big drop, several transactions being kind of suspended or discontinued, and then of course the new flow is not kind of the same as it was before, while at the same time there is sort of an increase in kind of this restructuring, corporate restructurings, but also like insolvency related restructurings. So kind of it's hard to tell what the life will bring, but so far it's sort of what the status is. In terms of the COVID, I guess it was brought also to Estonia. Actually, we had it was brought by the Italian volleyball team, because that was the main reason of having the community spread, because the Italian volleyball team from Milan came to play like European League game or something in one of the main islands, and we have the largest island in Estonia, and now that's the epicenter of the spread, and it kind of closed down. But more than half of the cases are actually on that island in Estonia. But overall, I think the kind of the people, I mean, the life goes on. Obviously, the economy is suffering, but it's not option. That's very briefly. Yeah.
Thank you, Martin. It's amazing how they can actually trace the disease, how it has spread, and the down to kind of ground zero. There was a party here in Stockholm, and there was 100 people there, and 70 of them got the disease, and it has spread like this. So it's actually it's horrible actually. So should we continue? Would you give it another go, Nicholas, or should we wait?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, we can.
Is that much better? Okay, fine. So the three impacts in the UK have been, first of all, social, and that's been ongoing for 3 weeks now. So first of all, the schools all closed down. And then secondly, all of the school exams for the summer were cancelled. All of the school skiing trips were cancelled. And we've all been sent home pretty much. All the children are at home, university and school children. We were all sent home from work except for essential workers. So the only people in the office, or in any of our 13 offices now, are people who are in post and administrative work. So all the partners, all the lawyers, pretty much everybody else is working from home and working remotely. So we all had, for example, I'm staring at now, we've all got our own home computer screens from the office and all that stuff. So everything's been distributed, and we've been working very well, actually, with WebEx webinar, every other sort of remote connectivity you can imagine. And that's true across the UK. So the only people who are now really going into work is key workers. So that would be hospital workers, bus drivers, train drivers, but that's limited as well. So pretty much everyone's been, so that's the social impact. The business impact is as part of that. I mean, I think March was as good a month for us, not as good as Finland, I don't think, but it was a good month, but we're certainly seeing a tail off. And then the next bit is the government's, so the government's done the health support. We've got social distancing, as it's known, which means you're not meant to stand more than 2 meters apart. You're meant to stay in your own house. So I can only go and deliver shopping to my 85-year-old father, and I have to kind of leave it on his doorstep and speak to him from 2 meters away. So we've got all those social strangenesses going on. And if we're permitted to go out, the government's guidance is, which is effectively a direction, we're allowed to go out for 1 hour a day for exercise. So I've been out running every day for a single hour. And you see a lot of people out running who you've never seen before. So that's all incredibly strange. There's hardly any traffic on the roads. The trains are very limited and all that. So that's all a bit strange. But I think what we've been doing in the UK is tracking what's been happening in Italy and Spain and kind of seeing ourselves as possibly 2 weeks behind them in terms of spread of the virus. I think we're now, Stefan, beyond where you are in Sweden, in the sense that it's not just old and vulnerable people who are succumbing to the illness. It's also younger people with no underlying health issues seem to be impacted now. So I think I was just making a note. The number of deaths in the UK has now jumped to 11,000, approximately 11,500, which is quite a lot. And then finally, the other thing, and relevant for us on this call, is the business support which the UK government is providing. So first of all, because everybody's been told to go home, they've got this new thing called furlough, which I don't know if you've heard of elsewhere in Europe, but it's a new English word, new to all English people as well as to everyone else in the world, which is basically sending people home on paid leave, which is capped, but it means that, for example, shoesmiths put a number of staff where they're not having to work, but they're sitting at home but still being paid, but paid up to 80% of their salary. So that's affected a lot of people in the UK. The UK government provided a lot of business support in terms of loans, grants, this furloughing support with putting workers on paid leave, relief from tax. There have also been some changes in insolvency law, so to do with unlawful trading, in other words, trading when your business is in difficulty. So there are all sorts of government support measures. And I think the issue in the UK has probably been the number of measures which have been introduced in a very short period of time and managing those. So I'm spending a lot of time at the moment on webinars and calls explaining to clients what they can and can't claim, or what they could potentially claim in terms of government support. So there's a lot going on. It's a very strange feeling. First of all, being at home for 2 whole weeks with my entire family is a bit odd. And secondly, not really being able to go out at all. So apparently, some interesting side impacts is apparently the sales of alcohol from off licenses has gone absolutely through the roof. The number of people going out running has gone up an awful lot. And just the amount of working from home. And I did, just from a personal point of view, I used to be absolutely hopeless at working from home. But after 2 weeks, I think I'm finally getting used to it and not being in the office. But yeah, it's very interesting times. And as you'll have seen on the news, no doubt, I certainly know that it's in the Swedish newspapers, is that Boris Johnson himself had very bad coronavirus and was in hospital for 4 days. So showing the kind of breadth and indiscriminatory nature of the virus, and he was, I think, really, really close to being very, very ill. So it's been interesting. And then the other thing is the Queen appearing on television twice in 2 weeks to give speeches to the nation. So we've taken almost the opposite approach, I think, to Sweden, but in the sense because we're tracking what's happening elsewhere in Europe in terms of the rate of increase, reaching this plateau in terms of the number of people who are first of all being infected and secondly dying. But I think we're now talking about coming out of this lockdown, as it's known, the lockdown, probably at some time towards the end of May, but not before. So it's all that's how it is socially, in terms of work and in terms of business support in the UK.
Thank you very much. I saw this morning that I think in Spain the lockdown they're going to ease up the lockdown a bit. But I also saw that.
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
And I saw that Mr. Macron in France, he extended the lockdown 1 month until May 11 or something. So I think.
Yeah, and I saw also, Stefan, that in Italy, the trend is now downwards, isn't it, on all the different counts. So the number of deaths and the number of new people being infected is declining in Italy, which is good news.
Yeah, very good. Okay, thank you so much, Nicholas. I can't see all the names, but I do know that we have William here from Belgium, from Altius.
Yes, hello.
Would you mind to share?
No problem. The trend is more or less the same as in most other countries. I think we have a regime that was stricter. I mean, we followed, I guess, more the French course. And took quite strict measures early on. That being said, there was a lot of work for us because there was this kind of list with essential services or essential businesses, and there was a lot of discussion what was then essential, what was not. A member of parliament said that if you look at it closely, almost 2/3 of people were in fact working in essential businesses. So at first sight, that may look like it wasn't helping a lot, but I think people are respecting the measures most of the time. General trend is the same. Transactions are delayed. A lot of work for employment. A good month of March, and overall, according to the press, Belgium is apparently not doing very great in terms of mortality. One of the aspects here was indeed that all the focus shifted towards the hospitals, and that little attention was given to elderly homes. And unfortunately, we are at more than 1,000 people that passed away in elderly homes. So that's something that will be looked into, I think, from a political point of view. But that's a very brief part of what's going on here.
Thank you very much. Seems like there's different routes in all the countries, but we don't know the answer until perhaps a long time from now. I don't know. Very strange. Lawrence, are you there still from Nigeria?
Yes, I am. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Very quickly, we've been, as it were, I would say the accusation is that we've been mimicking what other people have been doing without really giving a lot of thought as to the peculiarities of our own situation. The Nigerian government was a bit slow in reacting. The cases, the index cases came in from people who traveled abroad and came into the country. Since then, they set up a national center, which is tracking. Theoretically, we have only 300 and something confirmed cases, but and only about 10 deaths. Now, nobody believes that. In fact, the fear is if you look at what has happened in other countries, and given our population of 200 million, there's a big fear that we have a lot more cases than are being reported. Part of the problem too is that we just don't have the testing capability. Lagos, where most of the cases are, is the most advanced, and it has only about 3 places where testing is done. For the rest of the country, no testing is being done at all. We had a lockdown in Lagos and the next state, Ogun State, and in the federal capital, Abuja, which is announced 2 weeks ago. And last night at 7 p.m., the president extended that lockdown. The lockdown has not been very successful because you find 2 reasons. Socially, a lot of people live in accommodation is not very sophisticated. You have 5, 6, 7 people sharing one room. And so it's just not possible. There are problems of maintaining the electricity supply and water supply. And so people are coming out. And over the last 2 or 3 days, there's been an increase in general unrest in certain areas of the population where people, the artisans who earn a living every day, and if they don't work for the day, they don't earn any money. Government claims to have sent out what they call palliatives to 2-point-something million households in the last 2 weeks. And the question is, where did they get the 2-point-something million households? What is the data that they've used? Who are these people? The National Assembly, which is our parliament, asked these questions last week. And the minister who's in charge of this, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, responded that the Accountant General of the Federation has all the answers. That night, the headquarters of the Accountant General of the Federation went up in flames. So, so the question is, there's a Nigerian proverb, or a proverb for one of the Nigerian ethnic groups, which says, "The witch cried at night and the baby died in the morning." So a lot of people are saying, well, the witch cried at night in the National Assembly and the baby died the following morning. I think overall, from a business point of view, many businesses are still trying to react to working from home. Yes, there's a lot of webinars, there's a lot of video conferencing, but again, technology is an issue. The vast majority of the population, even though many people have phones, we do not have the level of data penetration that is necessary. But businesses, especially in the major urban areas, are trying to adapt very rapidly. The real problems tend to be more, like I said, logistics problems, electricity, data, connectivity. Those are the sorts of issues that people are facing. But generally, there is optimism. There's optimism that those companies and those institutions that are nimble are reacting, and it's more the government and people like that that are falling behind. There's been on the social media, we're discovering that there are a lot of Nigerian small and medium-scale enterprises that are doing wonderful things, and they are now just being given an opportunity to show what they can do and scaling up. So the whole media, the Nigerian media, Bollywood, and Nollywood music industry is really getting this information out. And so we're beginning to see, a resurgence of local industry and local manufacturing. The biggest problem, of course, is just getting people fed. We don't have a supermarket culture. Most people go to open markets. Those open markets have been shut down. And so government decided to allow people to go to the market between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Again, it doesn't make sense because social distance is thrown out of the window. So you have a bit of contradictory policies. We fear that political pressure is going to make nonsense of some of the initiatives that have been taken. For example, in some parts of the north, they say that they must still go to the mosque on a Friday. The Christians and the Catholic Church, for example, and the other Christian denominations, towards Easter, obeyed the orders and went online and on TV and had services with empty churches. But we're finding that some of the mosques are not taking that same point of view. So I think I think the conclusion really is that there are some green shoots for people who are allowed to take advantage, but overall there's a feeling that overall government policy and overall government reaction hasn't been as coherent as it could be, and is probably going to make a nonsense. So there's a fear that Nigeria may be one of the basket cases. We pray that it doesn't be, but all the indications are that it is going to be one of the basket cases. We do not have the medical infrastructure. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation 2 days ago announced that he's shocked at the state of Nigerian medical facilities. And the question was, if you, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, is shocked, then, we do have a problem. So, yes, Nigeria is on the precipice. We haven't reached the point where we're reaching the top of the outbreak. We are not sure that the numbers we have are accurate. And people are unfortunately preparing for the worst, if you can actually prepare for the worst.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Let's hope for the best. Yeah.
I just want to jump in here real quick to remind everybody that there's a poll on the right-hand side of your screen, and there's about 5 minutes left for it. So if you could fill out the poll, that would be great.
Oh, sorry. I should have said that. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, please do that. Also, Gordon, are you still there from Scotland?
Yes. Hi, here.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. A beautiful sunny day here. Having to view it from inside my house, so I did get it earlier for some exercise. I think you've already heard from Nicholas from his part of the UK, much of the UK position, so I don't need to repeat that for Scotland. The UK is smaller in population terms than England, of course. Smaller number of cases, but around 600 deaths. So it's still quite a worrying situation for us here in Scotland. I'm interested to hear how bad things are looking in Nigeria. I'm hoping it's not going to be as bad here in Scotland. But we have a very bad testing situation. We don't really have the testing capability that other European countries have put in place. So it's actually very difficult for us to get a proper handle on the impact here of the virus. One of the things that we've been finding has been interesting to look at from a law firm perspective is regulation. A number of our clients, as I'm sure yours, operate in regulated sectors, and it's been really interesting, like we were following up on this, to see how different regulators approach the virus, whether they are proceeding as normal, or whether they're actually deciding that they need to change their approach given the terms of the environment that we're all now working in. So whether they relax reporting requirements or monitoring requirements on regulated firms that we act for. So that might be an interesting question for colleagues to to comment on at some point in the future.
Yeah. Any
I think
comments
that's
on
probably
that?
everything
Yeah.
from Scott. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Gordon. Well, there are some people on the call that I can't really see the names. I think perhaps someone from Asters in Ukraine is there. No? Okay, then I don't know who no, I call in user 2 and 3. I don't know who that is. But do you know, Margaret? No.
I do not. They must be calling in from their phone.
Okay. So well then I think we have gone around the table. Thank you so much, everyone. Please fill in this poll. I would like to also mention the WSG kind of task force website COVID-19. I think it's very interesting that many law firms, our members from all over the world, has put their material there, and you can actually find a lot of good stuff there that can help you or your clients, especially to how to handle things in different jurisdictions. And I think at least I know that we have been there, and Margaret can perhaps explain a little bit more, but they put up seminars and all the materials and contact people, and we also have a task force in our firm, and we're more than happy to help you guys if there's something you wish to know about Sweden. And I think that goes for everyone. You can see on the, I think it's shared now, yeah?
Yes. Everyone should be able to see it.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So we also, on our COVID-19, we have a section for articles. So anytime your firm has articles to upload, please contact us. You can contact me directly. And I also know that Carly Naraki, our Director of Marketing, who's also on the line, she will help in this direction as well. We also have a section of the task force, which we will upload anyone from your firm who is in charge of your task force. It's all listed here. And then towards the bottom as well, we upload, sorry, that's the United States, all of the webinars as well. So past webinars, future webinars, any firm webinars we post, and we get the videos and live stream them as well. So these are just different options, and we also have our social media page as well. So anytime you have any questions, please let myself or Carly or anyone at WSG know.
Yes. And we might as well get used to putting stuff up there, because I don't think we will meet for a while. And I think this is a good way to communicate with our friends all over. So, yeah, use that tool. Mika, do you have any further thoughts on this?
Thank you, Stefan. I don't know if I have anything sort of particular to say, except that it was very interesting to hear both the similarities that each and every one of us have, but then also sort of how different certain things are. I'm referring, for example, to our friends in Nigeria. So sounded a bit not like something that would be happening in here. So it was very useful. Thank you, all of you who participated. It was much appreciated.
Yes, I concur. Thank you so much.
Actually one question. I mean, not all, but maybe someone to comment. I don't know how it's in your countries. Have you seen, I don't know, the other firms or what the law sort of attitudes towards the kind of cutting the salaries, or if the kind of the revenues will go down, or are the firms kind of laying off people already or not? So at least in Estonia, we haven't seen it. We know few competitors have like frozen the bonus payments, and you maybe have kind of had a little bit of layoffs, but nothing drastic has been done. But how you see that?
I can start. We haven't seen that either, neither in Sweden. So of course, a lot of rumors these days. And Sweden is a small Stockholm is a small city compared to a lot of bigger jurisdictions. What I read mostly is that a lot of things is happening in the UK from different law firms, and you see that in these legal magazines and stuff. But in Sweden, you have
it's true. There's a lot going on. I think the law firms in the UK, and Gordon can speak to this as well, are taking measures in anticipation of things becoming bad. So I think that as a number of people have commented on the call, at the moment, everything seems fairly normal, but we're sort of 2.5 weeks into it. So we're not expecting to see the impact immediately, although I have to say on a couple of particularly corporate transactions, those have either slowed down or have stopped altogether for the time being. But then at the same time, our insolvency people are incredibly busy. All of the government's support measures in the UK are intended to sort of keep businesses alive pending things returning to normality. So I think the UK government's pledged 350 billion sterling to supporting businesses, and it could be even more than that. So there's an awful lot of support out there. The issue, I think, for UK businesses and probably law firms as well is how to access that support as quickly as it needs to. So if you're a small business with only a few employees, the impact could be very instant. Whereas if you're a big law firm, you can probably plan a little bit more at your leisure and take advantage of tax support and all those other measures. But I think one of the issues SMEs in the UK are facing is accessing the support which has been made available quickly enough to prevent themselves becoming insolvent in short order.
In Sweden, a lot of the help we get from the government doesn't really fit law firms in a way. It's kind of, before you receive this help, you need to do layoffs and stuff. So I think that has been not a big discussion, but I think when we have looked at all these things that you can get some help with, it's like borrowing money and not paying tax now, but at Christmas. So, I mean, it's not been very good for us yet, at least.
And if I may say something about Finland, I guess that sort of situation in Finland is pretty similar to that of Sweden. I think that sort of the measures that every of the sort of leading law firms would be taking would not be to lay off anybody, but it's more or less you would transfer people from one practice to another to fulfill something. There will be always a need of lawyers doing something in some practice. So I would think that sort of laying off people in our firm would be the absolute last result. And that would mean that before we would ever go there, the partners would have stopped receiving any salary. So it's going to be partners first and then rest of the lawyers. That's the way that it works.
I think if we're going to have more webinars, I think this is actually a topic that we could discuss at a later stage when we see how our business is more affected. Because as everyone has said, March has been pretty good and April has started okay. But I think perhaps it will be different if it remains kind of sliding downwards also in May and June and July. Then we will be more nervous than we are perhaps today.
Stefan, is there another webinar planned?
No, it's nothing planned yet, but I think this is quite easy to plan. Or I think it was like every second week, Margaret, or what was the plan?
That is the plan here on out, is to do every second week, whether it's a webinar that is very similar to this, open dialogue, or getting to the marketing, anyone in the marketing teams involved as well, or the emerging leaders, grabbing those people as well together for webinars, but definitely every 2 weeks. After this, we will come up with a date and email that out.
Mm-hmm. I think every second week is okay, and it's. I was talking to Marie Carmen last night and to WSG, and I think for us it's good to keep it still on the standard European something time instead of Margaret has to go up very, very early in the US, but for us it's quite good to have it around noon here, so it kind of fits everyone instead of trying to adapt to the rest of the world for the moment. Okay, well, I have nothing further. If someone else has something to say? Well, thank you so much from WSE, Mika and Milan, for participating and sharing your thoughts and views. It's been really interesting. I think next time we will be 27 at least. We were 17 the most today, I think. So.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thanks, Stefan.
All of you, take care and stay healthy. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Margaret.
Thank you.